I'm waiting for the other part.
Hey, Victoria.
Hey, Ladybug.
Hey, and welcome to our audience. We are glad to be here. It is Sunday evening at 7 p.m. Of course, you all know that. And you also know that it is our favorite place to be on Sunday evenings. And you also know we've got somebody missing. I don't know whether we're going to have to tie Miss Ruth down or what we're going to have.
We're going to have to do something, right?
I tell you, when it comes to baby Mercy, I can't compete. That's
we lost. We have lost the battle. The grandbaby wins.
Yeah, every time. Every time. So we're missing Miss Ruth tonight, and I know she's missing us in some small way.
Very small. Trust it.
That's it. She's visiting the baby this weekend, and she knows that she has an assignment. I told her today, I said, if you don't do a photo shoot, that will definitely affect your ability to travel and see the baby again.
And what are we going to do when I get a grandbaby?
Same thing. Same thing.
You're going to be doing some solo shows, ma'am.
We are glad to be with you all tonight. We are glad to introduce you to a wonderful, wonderful writer. He wears some very different hats, and I tell you, we're just excited about the book that he has written, the things that are on task for him moving forward, and the fact that we get to introduce him to you guys tonight is extra special. But we're going to start off like we usually do on Sunday evenings, and since it's only the two of us, we're going to start with Victoria. And Victoria, what's your weekend review? What's going on with you?
Well, I'm happy to say Mom moved back to North Carolina last Friday.
Yeah.
And we've been, it's been a week now and getting her settled in, and she is so happy to be here. You can see the joy in her. Wow. And her things will be here this coming week. So we've had the week to get her kind of settled, and it's just been amazing trying to get her plugged back in some things to assist her. And it's just been a beautiful journey watching her be back here in North Carolina. And it's something, when you're a part of fulfilling someone's wish and seeing that wish come true, it is just amazing. And she's, she'll be 93 in October, and she just wanted to come back here. She kept saying that. And I told her the other day, I said, Mommy, I would call you in Indiana and you'd be like, I'm in the bed. And now when I call her, she's in her wheelchair for now. And she's whipping around her house, and she's doing this, and she's washed the dishes, and she's done laundry. So, it's just been, like I said, a joy to see a little bit of life come back to her. So it's just, I don't know. It's something about that elder care, I tell you. But that has been the most of my week. And then today, I got my manuscript back from our publisher. And so now the real work begins.
I
Well,
know.
I'm excited about that, and I'm excited about the journey that we're taking on our book.
Yes,
So
yes,
we got some really good things happen this past week. So
yeah.
what about you? That's it for me right now.
Well, last week was my reminder. It seems like everywhere I turned, somebody was saying, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?" And I keep saying, "I'm reading and I'm writing and I'm reading and I'm writing and I'm reading
Yes,
and I'm writing,"
yes.
because that really, really has been the assignment. We have books on tap that we know we're going to be talking to the authors about their work, and so
Mm-hmm.
that's reading assignments. And then there are other assignments that we all have to write to finish
Yes.
the writings that we have slated to be released
This
this
year.
year.
Mm-hmm.
So the new work that we are beginning, which we're not going to tell you guys about yet, but
Whew.
it's going to be fun and exciting. And Victoria, remind me to talk to you about titles. I'm going
Okay.
to put it out there now because I will forget.
You asking me to remember a whole lot tonight.
Yeah, yeah, I am. I am. I'm telling you, and I'm not ashamed.
Girl, who's gonna remind me to remind you?
But other than that, I seem to be on this um, home and health journey
Yes.
that seems to consume all of my time. And I did have one thing happen though this week that put me in mind of Ruth, Lynn, my daughter, who used to have her own daycare. Every now and then will watch uh, different children when their parents are in a
Oh, okay,
combined
okay.
in care. And
Yes.
um, she had a little fella the other day, and he was just crying for no
Oh,
reason. There was absolutely nothing wrong with it.
okay.
He was just crying and crying, and I looked down at him and I said, "Oh," and he just did like this, and I thought,
Oh,
"Oh," and I immediately scooped him up. And then immediately told me, "Put him down." she, she said, she said, "If you don't, he's gonna have you all day long picking him
picking
up
him
and
up.
him."
Oh, but that's all right. You needed that hug. Oh,
But in that moment,
yes,
not only did I get what she said, and he look, I
yeah,
put him down, and he went on his way like he had never come in my direction.
right,
But there is something about the love, that unconditional love and
right. And that was pure. That
from a
was pure.
partner that
Yes.
just, oh my gosh, it just warms your heart. At least it does mine. So I can't be mad at Ruth. I want to be.
I
You
know.
hear
And
that,
that,
Ruth? I want to be mad at you.
right. And then, did you see the
I
little video she sent us today when she said,
Yes,
thank you? Oh,
cannot be mad at her at all. Mercy is growing. She's a beautiful little girl, and Ruth, I just want you to enjoy every single moment because it
yes,
doesn't take long. Then
yes.
you look around and she'll be in school, and then she'll be out of school, and
Yep.
life will really begin again in a whole new way.
Exactly. Exactly.
So that was I want to have I'm saying, God, give me some new stuff. I want
Yes.
to report on some new stuff, some different stuff. So
Yes.
we'll see what's next and what he has in mind. But for
For
tonight,
tonight.
whew,
Yes.
we
Yes.
have an interesting book and an interesting author tonight.
Yes.
And Victoria, why don't you tell us a little bit about his bio?
I surely will. Okay. Excuse me. Dr. Sean Pauzauskie is a practicing hospital neurologist in the University of Colorado system, where he conducts clinical research employing neurotechnology, primarily for the optimization of epilepsy management. He's the medical director of the Neuro Rights Foundation, which is an active I'm sorry. He is the medical director of the Neuro Rights Foundation. He's also an active member of the American Academy of Neurology and the American Medical Association. and his research experience includes time at the National Institute of Mental Health, the Energy and Commerce Committee of the U.S. House of Representatives, and the Kauffman Foundation for Entrepreneurship.
Wow.
Right. Born in Alaska, but raised in Topeka, Kansas, Dr. Pauzauskie was mentored by and wrote his literature thesis with Stephen Jan Parker, a favorite pupil of Vladimir Nabokov. I hope I said that right. He lives with his wife and Siberian Husky in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. His literacy scholarship has been presented at the International Nabokov Society Conference in Montreux, Switzerland, and elsewhere. Now, tonight we're going to talk about his novel, Stage of Fools, which is his debut novel. So, after this brief break, you will have the opportunity to meet our guest for tonight, Dr. Sean Pauzauskie. Hang on, we'll be right back. Welcome, welcome,
Welcome,
welcome.
sir.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be here with you.
Thank you for saying yes. We appreciate you too.
Well, I tell you, we're going to things are kind of a little off for us
Just a little bit, but
because we're so used to Ruth being here with us in the flow of the interview. But we're going to do our best by you, Sean. And we appreciate you being here tonight. But before telling us about your story and the things that people usually want to know about the writer and the writer's journey, I want to know just a little bit about neurotechnology
yes,
and
yes.
how you or why you decided that you wanted to write and do the story that you did with that as kind of the foundation of it.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, great question. And so I would say it's kind of like one of those things in life that sometimes the best things we don't choose them; they kind of choose us. You know.
Gotcha.
So actually, when I kind of envisioned this book as being part of a trilogy, I started writing about 20 years ago now, the first part of it. This one was
Wow.
written much more recently. Um, but I was in medical school and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And, when we took our neurology, neurosciences coursework, the light bulbs just kind of came on. And so I kind of feel like neurology chose me more than I chose it, just
Mhm.
from that perspective. And then as I was writing, because I was a literature major in college and always knew that I wanted to write, and just started to kind of try to write my first novel, which is intended to be the first part of this trilogy. This is the second part. Stage of Fools is the second part. I kind of started having ideas about different plots that would revolve around what's going on in the brain as people are reading or processing stories or literature. And so that was kind of the seedling about 20 years ago. And then fast forward, in 2013, there was a funding initiative passed in the Congress called the BRAIN Initiative, which stands for Brain Research Through Advancing Innovative Neurotechnologies. And it's housed through the NIH, the National Institutes of Health, where I had worked before. And this really accelerated neurotechnology from a scientific, medical, and really economic standpoint. And so this really jump started the whole neurotechnology revolution, really. And so
Wow.
I view it as a revolution. And so when I came back and was starting to write part two of the trilogy, it was around the same time that I was getting connected with this foundation that I'm now the medical director at, the Neuro Rights Foundation, who are their mission is to promote innovation and ensure the safe and ethical development of neurotechnology. And so things really just kind of grew together kind of organically that way. It wasn't that I ever sat down and was like, I'm going to write about neurotechnology. It was just kind of like
Mhm.
a combination of personal interests, a little bit of, US funding initiative, and then getting connected with this foundation is kind of how it all came together.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow, how interesting. And I
Hmm.
was sharing with you before we went on that I have a daughter with epilepsy, and so I won't have to stay in touch with you.
Yeah,
This is,
absolutely.
oh my goodness,
Yeah,
it's
sorry
so
to hear that, but
interesting. Well, it's okay. It's not, her case has not been as bad as it could be. She's never had a grand mal seizure. She's has the little ones where she just kind of zones out a little bit, but it's still
oh,
been a
good.
journey for us to I think she was diagnosed when she was like 12 or 12, maybe even younger than that. And it was just, and it came from nowhere, and so just understanding how the brain works and all that. I mean, it's so interesting, but that's not, we're not here for that tonight. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your book? Tell us about your book, and tell us about Stage of Fools.
Yeah, yeah. So Stage of Fools, I would say, I've written a lot of manuscripts at this point, and Stage of Fools, I would say, is unique in that it's the one that from start to finish, like kind of the spark of the idea to the completion of the manuscript, was actually the shortest of any of the books that I've written so far.
Really?
Um, I think I decided to write it in April, and by the end of the year, I had a manuscript, and by the next year, it was getting published, and so like it was a lot faster than say like some of the other manuscripts that I have that are unpublished that I spent years thinking about working on. And so I think if that tells you anything, it's that sometimes those intuitive kind of like ideas that get a spark and just get you going. But that was kind of like the writing process. Um, but as far as the work itself, I knew I wanted to tell a kind of classic story in a modern way. I would
Mm,
say if you had to frame it, like it's got elements of Shakespeare, it's kind of like King Lear in a coma. And so it really tracks kind of an old story, but in this kind of modern way with neurotechnology. I would say kind of sums it up, in a brief sense.
Hmm.
right.
That was really, I really like the way that you wrote it, and that you wrote it from that perspective.
Yes.
Because I've never read anything like that before. I'm sure there's something
Right, and it was so
on it.
interesting, yes.
But the way that it's like three stories in one almost happening at the same time, because usually it's that one character that is talking to you about what is happening real time. And I've always wondered, because they always say that when people are in a coma or traumatic things like that happen, read to them, talk to them, all these kinds of things, because they can hear you. uh, and to
Hmm.
to be reading this story about
Mhm.
someone who can hear you and is now relaying to you what they are hearing and what they are seeing. It was just quite unique. I really enjoyed that. Now, when you were talking about the trilogy and all of that, and the way that you were able to write this particular book, we always like to ask the authors, what was that writing journey like for you? Because a lot of times people are write from outline,
Yeah, right.
encouraged
Mhm.
to write by outline. And then there are those people who the characters just seem to drive the story. And that kind of sounds more like what you did, uh, when you talk about, just putting it together and the time that it took you. Because I think when the characters drive it, I don't think the the breaks in time are there as much.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, those are great points that you bring up, and um, yeah. So, I mean, I would say the process of this one, maybe to start with your point about characters in a coma. And maybe to kind of harken back to the first question about just putting this all together. So as a practicing hospital neurologist, early in my career, I was approached a lot about patients who are in comas, and I'm asked to tell the family, what's going on, how long is this going to last, are they going to recover? And I would say that honestly, at the beginning of my career, I found myself kind of grabbing for answers more than, I really felt like I had. A lot of tools and a lot of things to help me kind of guide families through those events. It's not that I hadn't taken care of coma patients, but I was really looking for things that could really help families kind of through this process. And one of those things that I came across that I was very excited about and actually underpins the whole narrative was this idea of this condition called cognitive motor dissociation, or
Mm,
CMD, which was the term I think was first coined, I think 10 years ago. I think it was first described about 20 years ago. But basically, just exactly to your point, um, that about 25% of all patients in a coma have some degree of preserved awareness.
mm.
And I found that very interesting, just from, a professional standpoint and trying to explain to people, and just from a scientific and personal standpoint, that consciousness is so deeply embedded that you can be in these very vulnerable states, on a ventilator, in a coma, and still have some degree of preserved consciousness. And so that was really the spark, that spark in April that said, okay, I'm going to do this. And then when I thought, well, how am I going to have a plot? The characters in a coma, and so things are going to have to be kind of happening in an ambient sense in the room. And so I basically took inspiration from an author named Ian McEwan, who I think a lot of people have probably heard of, wrote Atonement. And
Yeah.
actually the book that, yeah, Atonement's great. I remember reading it and seeing the movie, in the late 2000s. And then after that, because I liked Atonement so much, I read the book that he wrote after that, which, speaking of, babies and grandchildren, the one that he wrote was called Nutshell, which was essentially the plot of Hamlet from the perspective of an unborn child listening to the plot
Oh,
of
wow.
Hamlet.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
called Nutshell.
it's called Nutshell. Yeah, just like a, walnut or something. Um,
Mhm.
so just kind of took inspiration from that, and I said, well, I'm going to do King Lear in a coma, you know, instead of Hamlet from an unborn child, and that really got the ball rolling. And then as I started, I kind of said, how am I going to keep the action, the tension going, and have like a real emotional heart to this that isn't just like a retelling of King Lear? And that's where the murder mystery plot, that, to your point about there kind of being multiple narratives taking place at once. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to take King Lear in a coma, and then take a little bit of backstory and have there be some kind of transgenerational element to this, where there's this murder mystery taking place in Alaska. That's kind of it, in a nutshell.
Yeah, yeah, and done very well, done very well.
Very well. Oh, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. My tagline is "Get the book." Guys, y'all got to get this book. This one, it is a page turner. It is, and I found myself wanting to tell him, he can hear you. Don't y'all understand? He can hear you. Brett, put your finger up, do something, blink twice, blink. Such a good story. Oh my goodness. Um, I'm trying to think. I had several questions. Go ahead, Andrea, because I have several
Okay,
things
well,
going in my mind.
I'm gonna, while you're getting those questions together, I'm gonna ask Sean to read to us.
Yes.
We
Okay,
have
that's good.
gotten to the place where we like to have our authors, just pick a part of the book, a piece of the book, a section of the book, and just kind of read to us, because there will be people listening who have not had an opportunity
Right.
to get the book and to read the book. And there's always something unique, or a unique perspective or whatever, that is brought out when the author chooses the
Mm-hmm.
part that he wants to share. And I think you said you want us to start from the beginning. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Sean, and let you read to us and tell us what you're reading. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. So I usually like to read just from the beginning, um, because it just kind of sets the stage, so to speak. And so this is just kind of the first couple pages of the novel, which I hope you enjoy. Chapter 1. So here I've arrived, born by the tide, locked in a coma, without my own air to breathe, without an heir to inherit my fortune. You'll remember what happened to young Tom Mariner, my hopeful protege and me, that great wave that capsized our invincible vessel in the Queen Charlotte Islands and deposits me here, now, apparently to the intensive care unit at St. Mary's Hospital in San Francisco, or so I have gleaned from my forced kibitzing, my wife having insisted it be a hospital closer to our home, where the nurses attend to my every need, asking me things I cannot, and alarms seem to sound at all hours of the night, disturbing my sleep. Never the more, I am still Stephen Benjamin Levinson, son of Levi, possessing $1.6 billion, however unleavened the bread of my current self-possession, to do anything about my needs. I'll tell you what I remember. Tom and I were reeling in the largest king salmon ever recorded, a mammoth silver brick of flesh surely 100 pounds or more, which would make it the largest by the history of such recordings, when I became overzealous in my estimation. Our engine took on more water than any could muster, and the same waves that wrecked and rusted the World War II transport vessel on shore wrecked our small fishing boat, sending me under wave upon wave. I struggled there, beneath the frigid ocean, to breathe, against those waves, then giving in, and have apparently partially suffocated, my heart preserved, my other vital organs supported by a ventilator. Do you protest what I posit about my health? What you probably do not understand is that those who have partially suffocated are still there, or in there, rather, as I am, or so I have learned. Though I cannot act, I can listen, feel, think, remember, and I am happy to recount what I have learned, to those who'll listen, to feel, think at their own free will, as I await my fate. My assumption is that I shall emerge victorious, as I have at every stage of my life, in business, as a father, as a son of God.
Mm,
And
mm.
that's the first couple pages.
Well, you can see, those who are listening can see why Victoria said it's a page turner. I don't know.
I want
I
to keep reading.
those couple of pages you want to put it down and not continue to see, okay, what's next?
Right, right.
What is going to happen next? Thank you, Sean. Thank you for choosing that part and for reading that part to us. I want to ask you, oh, Victoria, did you remember what it was?
I think I want, your book to me is one of it does what a good book is supposed to do. Not only does it give you a good story, couple stories, but it also makes you think, and it makes me see myself. I have three girls, and it made me think about how I relate to my children. So that was a comment more than a question. Is that it really did that for me? It's making me think, especially as they're becoming young women and doing things on their own. Some of those things I may not like, but it made me think that I need to be a little more cautious of how I handle them. And so I thank you for that. I thank you for writing this book and to give us parents a little bit of a nudge, that the most important things may not be money, wealth, status, but it's how you treat each other and how you love each other and how you feel after you're in my presence. So thank you. Thank you.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
well thank you. Thank you for saying that too. And I think it definitely resonates with what I was trying to accomplish. And just kind of, don't want to give too much away, but there is kind of
Right.
I think an element of what are stories for? Like why do we read? Why do we write? Why do we tell stories? And I feel like, I'm very touched by what you're saying because I feel like that's the way stories have benefited me throughout my life is like having a perspective to take or putting myself in somebody else's shoes and what lessons can I
Yes.
learn and how can I live a better life. That's what it's ultimately about in the end is how can we be better humans and live better lives because of the stories. And I didn't write King Lear, Shakespeare. It was kind of borrowed, but I hope to have been a good steward and a good caretaker and have told it in a way that's going to resonate with people for a modern audience.
It definitely did with me. And so that's why I could say firmly get the book. And I am also one of four children. And so that dynamic with siblings, there's two boys and two girls. And just that whole I like I said, not only I don't want to be a better parent, I want to be a better sibling. Make sure that the people around me know that I love them. Before it's too late. So your book definitely did that. Bravo, bravo. All right, that's me.
Thank you.
And it's interesting also the thing that I won't say the thing that I took away from the story, but the thing that it reminded me of is, and this may sound crazy, but how off we can be in our thinking. The way that we perceive that people perceive us
Right.
is not always the way that it is. And I wish there were some times in life where we could sit on the sidelines and hear, and then circle back around and say, "Oh, let me tell you what that was about," because it wasn't that way at all. And that was just, I guess, the word that I would put. That was just intriguing to me
Yeah.
throughout the story, and as it began to unfold, and the the heart changes that he saw and that happened, were just, I don't know, it's just very well written and well expressed, and it I really did enjoy it from a number of vantage points, a number
Yeah,
of
well,
vantage points.
yeah, well, thank you for that too. I mean, like, I think that's kind of the heart of what I can't remember exactly the literary critic who talked about Shakespeare's tragedies and kind of like what is the tragic flaw of each character in Shakespeare's tragedies.
Mhm.
Like for Macbeth, it's ambition. For Othello, it's jealousy. For Macbeth, for Hamlet, it's kind of like overthinking things. And I think for Lear, it kind of comes down to, and it's kind of like one of those. By no fault of his own, but because he's presumably an old, maybe in his 70s or 80s, king, but he seems to have lost his judgment. He seems
Right,
to have
right.
lost his ability to perceive those around him, their motives. And kind of he's falling victim, in his old age, and his kind of not feebleness, but just kind of like his mind isn't quite what it used to be. Um, and so I think that there are a lot of lessons, not just for people in that state, or that age bracket, but for all of us, that we oftentimes go through life and we think we've got a pretty good, firm, understanding. And I think it
Mhm.
harkens to like that idea of emotional intelligence, kind of like
Right.
knowing, perceiving others, but then knowing how others perceive us. It's not a simple thing, you know.
Mhm.
And so, but I think that literature, helps us with that to a degree, like taking perspectives and putting ourselves in other people's shoes, and hopefully we get better at that over time. Though uh, I'm not sold that it absolutely does.
Can you give us, without giving too much away, can you give us a little peek into the other two books of the trilogy?
Sure, sure, absolutely. And it kind of harkens back to your original question about neurotechnology.
Hmm.
So we kind of broadly categorize neurotechnology into technologies that can read the mind, technologies that can influence the mind, and then technologies that can do both. So mind reading, I wanted the trilogy to kind of have a stepwise progression. So the first part, without giving too much away, the real heart of it, as far as it pertains to the technology, is mind reading. So there's a
Mhm.
huge heavy element of mind reading when it comes to the first part. This one, with the ultrasonic thalamic stimulator, which we haven't talked too much about to this point, but just for anyone listening, there's a structure deep in the brain called the thalamus that has, it's about the size of an olive and sits beneath the big brain, that we think of as the brain. And it's a very important relay center in terms of like sensory perception, and in terms of consciousness. It's become very well known in consciousness studies as being very central, as kind of like this relay center for consciousness. And about 10 years ago in a lab at UCLA, they were able to actually do what happens, or is supposed to happen in the book, or might happen in the book, which is to use this technology to wake a character up out of a coma by introducing sound waves, or
Mm.
that's the ultrasonic part of that. So the ultrasonic thalamic stimulator. And so this book, as far as the progression of the trilogy, was supposed to be neurotechnologies that can influence the mind through things like this ultrasonic thalamic stimulator. And then the third part, I kind of wanted to have there be some arc to it, some kind of progressive arc. And so the third part is about what happens when we go beneath the skull and actually into the brain, kind of almost in like a journey to the center of the earth type of way,
Mm.
with implantable or what are called implantable brain computer interfaces, or BCIs. um, and then kind of the arc of the characters and everything kind of comes together in the end as well. But that was the intended arc of the technology and the trilogy.
It's interesting to me, Sean. A lot of times we have authors on in their books, and we'll ask them, how did you get your research? How did you do your research with this?
Right.
Your research.
Exactly.
You know exactly how all this works and how it lays out, and it without it, I mean, and I think the only way I know to say it is, and I hope it's okay to say it this way, but it humanizes everything.
Mm-hmm.
It,
Mm-hmm.
it puts that
Hmm.
human element in there that otherwise would not be there, because you can talk science and that's all it is. It just becomes science. But when you are taking what you know about that science and putting a character voice to it, it makes it superior. I think
Yeah.
that's my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And I would say that I I'm not trying to not be science fiction in a way.
Mhm.
When I took the book down to my local indie bookstore, that was like the first place they wanted to shelve it, under like science fiction and fantasy and all
What?
of this. But I actually, yeah, I mean, I kind of have a similar kind of reaction, in the sense that I like the term science informed literary fiction, in that I like the emotional arc of the characters and the relationships and all of these things to kind of be more central than just, hey, what happens around this technology. So I feel like a lot of science fiction is kind of the opposite, where we start with this scientific idea and that kind of drives the whole plot, whereas I wanted the neurotechnology and the human element to kind of coexist in a way, and to have to have it not be just so focused on the technology, but really on how the characters are reacting to that process as human beings. Because I feel like that's really going to be one of the challenges of neurotechnology moving forwards, is say in 5 or 10 years people are able to get one of these chips implanted into their brains, and it's going to really fundamentally alter the human experience.
Yeah,
And so that's what I really wanted to get out ahead of, and try to be describing before it happens, to kind of help build the narrative. Because everything is narrative, and we need narrative around everything. Like every technological revolution has had narrative around. You think of like Dr. Strangelove or Gattaca, or any of these
yeah.
stories that were or Jurassic Park even, that was talking about
Right.
genetic technology, and how are we going to grapple with this. So that's a very, very insightful and great point, Andrea.
And you have done and just an amazing job in putting it together in this book and in
Mm-hmm.
this way. Victoria, I'm going to turn it over to you to close out. I tell you, the time goes by so fast.
It does, but I wanted to ask one question. Could you show us the book and tell us a little bit about your
About the
cover
cover.
design, the cover, and how did that
Oh yeah.
come to be? Yeah,
Yeah.
That
yeah.
was my next question. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
you got it.
Look at
Yeah. So
that.
here,
It's a beautiful book. Oh my gosh.
yeah, I was very happy with how it all turned out. And
Mm-hmm.
it kind of harkens to that whole point that it takes a village, to create a book. And so the cover itself, you can see the original concept that I wanted to start with was the cosmic ocean. And
Mm.
like anyone who reads the book, I think it'll make sense, like somewhere towards the end, maybe, that the cosmic ocean, it kind of starts in the ocean. um, and but then after that, my wife said, what if we did something, because the book takes place in San Francisco where we met. What if we did something with the Cliff House, which is this beloved, it used to be like a hotel, and now it's kind of like a very well-known and well-regarded restaurant on the west side of San Francisco. And so this right here is an old rendering of the Cliff House, which it used to be a chateau that unfortunately burned down, but it's been
Oh.
rebuilt. And then this kind of statue here is to kind of capture some of the emotional, aspects of some of the, the female characters, and kind of, some of the things that they go through. But it really took about 5 people to put this cover together in the end.
Wow.
Like I had the original concept. My wife made the recommendation about the Cliff House, and then it took 2 friends to kind of put it together in Photoshop, and then my brother-in-law cleaned it up, and then the publisher ultimately made it into what it ended up becoming, which I agree is just a very beautiful layout and cover design.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah, very, very good.
So
Very,
how has the book been received?
I would say very well so far.
Good.
Yeah, I mean it's been reviewed in several places, and as always with reviews, you try to take the good with the bad, with
Right.
the this and the that. But I would say it hasn't had too many, or I can't really think of one universally bad review. It's had several really really great reviews. It's
Good.
been well received on Amazon, and seems to be doing very well for what it is, which is indie debut fiction.
All right. And was certainly
wonderful.
going to add mine to Amazon review. So, because it's five thumbs up if I have 5 thumbs. Well,
Well,
how
thank
can
you.
our listeners and our viewers get in touch with you, or where could they find your book? And again, how can they get in touch with you if they just wanted to reach out to you?
Yeah, so the book's available on all the major platforms, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, from the publisher. The publisher is called High Frequency Press, so you can get it from them. You can get it from some of the standard, Amazons. I do have a website, seanpauzauski.com, which would be a good place to go to kind of learn more about the whole, the like everything where the book came from. And then um, I have a mailing list that's available on seanpauzauski.com that you can sign up for, and we send semi regular updates, and there should be more kind of coming in the near future about Stage of Fools and then the other 2 parts of the trilogy.
Awesome. Awesome. That thank you so much. I appreciate that. You have a couple of new fans here. So expect to see
Thank
some
you,
new
and
names on the list.
yeah, and likewise,
Thank you.
really like your program, and thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you so
It
much.
was our pleasure. Our pleasure.
Definitely our pleasure. Get the book, y'all. Get the book. It is a story you are going to want to read. I promise you, you're going to like this book.
And I would say also to you, Sean, as you finish these other 2 sections, please keep us in mind. We want to follow this journey with your stories and how you are writing them, and we would love to have you back and further explore this trilogy. So thank you so much for being with us this evening. We really, really appreciate it. And thank you for sharing this wonderful work that you've done.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Awesome.
It
Awesome.
has been.
Well, that is it for us for the evening. I can't believe it. Time has gone by so fast,
It
but
really does. When you're having fun, right? And this was a book. Oh man, we want to talk about so much more, but we couldn't give away too much. Gotta
that's
get the
right.
book.
That's right. It was hard not to do. It was hard not to do. But I will say this: if anybody is looking for a book for your book club, this is a great one
Yes.
to have and to discuss. So I want to throw that out there a little bit.
Great.
But I wanted to say to everybody, our listeners and our viewers, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We hope you will keep us on your schedule and that you will come back on Sunday evenings right here on ALH Broadcasting, Authors Up. And we will do a replay of this
Right.
program on Saturday evening at 7 p.m. So if you missed something today and you want to catch it or share it with someone, be sure to tune in on Saturday evenings at 7 p.m. Until next week, we hope that you have an absolutely wonderful week. Do something good for yourself. Enjoy life the way it was meant to be. We will be
That's
back
right.
here next Sunday, and come on back. You never, ever. I mean, you never know what's going to happen when you tune in to Authors Up. So come back,
That is the
be with
truth.
us. And until then, like I said, have a wonderful week. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you,
Thank
Sean.
you.
And that's it for us for the
All right.
evening.
Good night. Good night, Bronze
And,
Girl.
and
Good
Good night,
night,
everybody.
thank you
Sean.
so
Thank you
much.
for being with us
Thank
again.